Welcome to another exciting ALASC presentation, and talking about posters is clearly something that I enjoy, something that I do, something that I just happen to have, laying around my office, because doesn't everyone? But the idea with posters is that this is something, a way to express like an exciting project that you have done, or research that you have done, or something that's in progress that you're not finished with, but you want to get a little feedback, or just sort of advertising the joy of what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So, has anybody made posters ever for anything at all, ever? What kind of posters did you make?
For your class, we had to make a poster.
That was awesome! Yay! Did anybody else make them in 401? People who were in 401 with me prior to that, I didn't actually require it, but now I do. They're good. So the idea with a poster, though, is just that you want to express some of your information. So this is, I have a few different kinds of posters here that we will be looking at today. Generally, what you do with a poster is you take it to a conference. So, this is ALASC. Hooray, huzzah. ALA annual conference is in Orlando when it's hot, because librarian conferences are always off season, but that's all right. It's because we're tough and we can take it. So they will be putting out a call sometime after the midwinter conference in January. They'll be putting out a call for things, conferences or conference presentations, exhibitors, and posters. So that will be coming probably February-ish, but keep your eyes out for that, because they have, a few hundred people who will present a poster at the ALA annual meeting. If you haven't been to the annual meeting, 25,000-ish of your closest librarian professional buddies will show up, and it's very exciting, and it's always neat to go to. But posters are one of the interesting things that you can see. So when you're at a conference, the idea is that there are people there who are showing their information. If you're presenting a poster, everybody's in a nice line, lots of lines, and you stand next to your poster and look hopeful and try to encourage people to stop by and talk to you. So this is actually a poster that I gave a few years ago. It's not actually an amazing poster, but there are pieces that made me happy about it. So this is what a poster presentation would look like, though. It's you next to your poster, looking hopeful and trying to entice people to come over and see what kind of work you're doing. A few basics to think about when you're thinking about the actual event itself. Not just the creation, which we're going to spend more detail on, but the event of the poster presentation itself. Go to the bathroom before it starts. I know that sounds silly, but you can't leave. So you're sort of the star of the show. And as soon as you walk away from your poster and go spend 20 minutes trying to find a bathroom, wait in line, and get back, everyone who was super excited about your poster and your work and wanted to maybe fund you or hire you, they already came to look at it and you weren't there and they left. So you don't want that to happen to you. So instead, come by or go to the bathroom in advance. Bring water. You'll be talking a lot. So if you want another beverage that sort of helps you in a speaking capacity, go ahead, but water is very useful. So have a little bottle that you have sitting down here. One of the first poster presentations I went to at a conference, SLIS, Association for Library Education Professionals, it was 3 hours long, and we were required to stand next to our poster for 3 hours. So there was food happening, like in the adjoining room, but we were not allowed to go get the food in the adjoining room. So you either need a trusted associate who will bring you sustenance, or to just plan out in advance. Stick a granola bar in your pocket so that you're completely ready to go. Because what you want to do with your poster presentation is you want to make a good impression on people. You want to talk about what it is that you were trying to get across, what sort of fun stuff you did, how fantastic it was, or what you want from people. So, we're going to look at a few basic posters to get some thematic ideas first. So, this is a poster that I did, like I said, I did this a few years ago, and it was about a study that I did on workplace satisfaction. it's not terrible. There are little pictures on it. Images are what you're gonna want to go for. The fewer words you use, the better it's gonna be. So, people toward the back of the room, can you read this? So that's good. That part is good. You want something that people who are standing kind of far away from you can read. So I see a lot of posters, particularly in the hard sciences, where they're just covered in words, little teeny tiny words everywhere. And I mean, you would have to like do this, maybe with a magnifying glass. I'm getting old, it's hard to read. And that's not gonna be helpful. Remember, what you want your poster to be is enticing. There are a whole bunch of other people who are presenting posters, and you want people to look at yours, you want people to ask you questions and to learn things from it. So you want it to be enticing. I was going for enticing, but I don't know that it really came across. So this is one that presents research and talks about where we, I don't actually think we were finished with this yet. So it's where we were going with it. This was a work in progress. And that's a common thing for a poster. You've got something happening and you're not quite finished, you're talking about it in advance. So this is a poster that actually my student assistants made for me. So this is advertising. We were doing this very exciting research project, driving the Lewis and Clark Trail. And so I had these research assistants who were not driving with me, unfortunately, but doing the prep work in advance, which was just months and months and months of it. And we started to realize how hard this was going to be and how expensive it was going to be. So because they were young and enthusiastic and had energy to spare, they wanted us to do a Kickstarter. So we did, and it was really exciting. We didn't get funded, but we got a ton of interesting publicity. We got people to talk to us, and it was a lot of fun. So they took this poster to an event that we had here at SLIS called, at that time it was SLIS After Dark. And our alumni would all come and have a little dinner with us and talk to people, and they wanted to get to know students. So in advance of the dinner, there was a poster presentation that students could share some of the work that they were doing. So my students were sharing this work. So I like this. I mean, it was sort of, we threw it together at the last minute, but it conveyed what we were trying to do. Again, I'm not totally thrilled with it, but it was fine. So I teach the internship class, 501. Yay. A few semesters ago, we started having a lot of people taking 501, which is great because I love internships. But until that time, we had done final presentations in class. Well, this semester there were about 40 people in the class, so there's no time at the end of the last class to have final presentations. So instead, we decided to do poster presentations. By we, I mostly mean me. I told everyone they had to do a poster presentation. And it turned out to really be fun. So we split the class in half, and I've done this almost every semester since. Split the class in half, and half of them for the first hour of class were the presenters. So they practiced standing next to their poster. We used these poster boards that I keep in my office. And they had to have an elevator speech. So an elevator speech or an elevator presentation, an elevator pitch is you have 30 to 60 seconds to talk about what it is that you have done. And you really have to hone it. You really have to, work on what you're trying to get done. And you really have to think about your message in a quick, concise way. Remember, everybody's just walking past you. You want to lure them in and get them to pay attention to your stuff. So this is one that Anna did and left for me. Thanks, Anna. And I think she did a really nice job with it. So it's clear, it's easy to read, it's not cluttery. She's deliberately incorporated some very interesting pictures. So this is one that she wanted to, one of her goals for her internship was to help lead some instruction sessions. She had them take a picture of her actually doing that. She wanted to create LibGuides, so she actually has a screenshot of the LibGuide that she used. So other things that you want to think about in your poster. You're making a really good poster. You want it to be super. You want it to be eye-catching. A few basic things to put in. First of all, not cluttered, not wordy. Lots of graphics. So where do you guys go to get graphics? When you need graphics for stuff, where do you go? Slightly louder, sorry, I don't hear very well.
Pixpa.
I haven't heard of it, but yes, sounds good. Where else? There's not like a wrong answer here, I'm just curious.
Google Images.
Sure, me too. I go to Google Images all the time. 2 thumbs up to Google Images. Thank you, this presentation right here for the Google Images. You want to make sure that you're finding ones that are appropriate through the Creative Commons licensing, that they're okay to be exhibited in an educational area. But pretty much everything is, so it's usually not going to be a problem. But it's always good to make sure you're not just running out with other people's stuff. Consulting my notes to make sure I don't forget stuff. All right. So more things that you have to think about with your poster. You need to have a title. All posters have titles. And so you want it to be something a little catchy, a little exciting, with a little zazz to it. I don't know that necessarily that some of these are necessarily exciting, but I was definitely trying to go for some zazz with this poster. And I was feeling the Rolling Stones that day, apparently. But you need it to be something that's descriptive of what it is you're trying to do, because posters will often be printed in the program for a conference. So the title and maybe your name will be printed in the program. So again, you want it to be something that people are kind of looking in advance and they're thinking, oh, that sounds awesome. I would totally go to that. So yeah, I made one once about QR codes, and I had the title as IQ, do you? And it rhymed enough. I think it may have been a kid-themed conference, but everybody was excited. I actually had people who came by and looked at my post and they're like, IQ! It was nice. So have a good title. One thing that I didn't have any idea what I was doing, this may have been the first poster I ever made. I was clueless. There's no contact information on here. So let's say somebody really, really wanted to hire me based on this amazing, amazing work that I'm doing with Q methodology, because, I mean, it was groundbreaking. It was awesome. They can't, because I don't have my name on it. So, title, something zippy. Your name. Then your contact information. So, Anna has done the best job of that, is she's got her name, she's got her contact information on here. You don't necessarily need to contact Anna, although I'm sure she'd love to hear from you. Especially if you were offering her job, although I think she's happily employed. But you never know. So this is where, just like with your resume, you want to think about the contact information that you're putting out there. So if your email is hotsexystud@gmail.com, well, even worse, hotsexystud@aol.com, that is totally the wrong way to go with that. So many things wrong with it. Not the least of which is AOL email? Who even has that anymore? It's just depressing. So, and it doesn't look like you know what you're doing with technology. Have something that's professional. Use a Gmail. Gmail is awesome. This is how people are going to contact you, and you want them to think that you're a big grown-up professional person. So for a poster, I would avoid your Simmons email, or maybe put your Simmons email on it in addition to another way of contacting you. Why would you avoid your Simmons email? Simmons is wonderful, glorious, and wonderful.
Because someday you're going to graduate.
You will! I have confidence in you. I know you will. It'll be glorious. And your Simmons email is only good for like 30 days, 60 days. Anybody know? I don't know. But it's not very long after you leave us. So have another way for people to contact you. Because the third thing that I think you should always put onto your poster, and none of these have it, is a QR code. So down here in this corner right there, it would be a great place to put a QR code. Has everybody made a QR code? Has anybody ever made a QR code? Awesome. Was it really super hard and took you hours to do?
Very easy.
It's amazingly easy, isn't it? I was in a public libraries class a couple of years ago, and when we were talking about technology in the public library, I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. I reserved the computer lab downstairs. I'm like, we're going to spend 3 hours working on QR codes, and I don't know, by the end, I hope we've all figured it out, because I don't know how to make a QR code. 10 minutes into class, we had all made them. And I'm like, okay, so 2 hours and 50 minutes to fill. Now what do I do? Quick, think. So they're super easy. All you do is just Google QR code generator or something in that ballpark, and you will be inundated with them. So since I created this, I have signed up for a couple of different websites that have QR codes with them. Or they keep the QR code, so they have my account on there. So now when I go to conferences and I don't do too many posters anymore, but if I do posters, and also when I give presentations and I have PowerPoint slides, the last slide is a QR code. So that way people could just scan it with your phone, with a tablet or something, and they have my presentation, or they have my poster, and my contact information with it. So if you join some of these websites, then you belong, you're a member, and they keep your stuff. So it's nice. I have several conference presentations that I've given in different places. People have scanned them. If, for example, let's say this is a work in progress poster. Let's say I did have a QR code, and people were really super excited. They wanted to know, how do I get workplace satisfaction in my public library? Now I actually do the study. I could go back in with my QR code and update my poster or add in a little short Word document about it, and it would automatically update to what people have given. So that's very handy. One of the things you always want to be thinking about as students is getting a job. People who've been in my class already know I say this 50,000 times a semester. You're here to get a job. I want you to get a job. I want you to have things that will help you to get a job. So I want you to be happily employable. I say this every so often in class. I'm really, really hoping that one of you, possibly someone in this room, goes on to become like the Bill Gates of library, and you make a large fortune, not a small one, a large one. And you remember your poor little professor who, sits alone in my little office with my posters and my chocolate, and I take grant money. I'm not proud. It will be fine. Feel free to offer it to me when you become fabulously wealthy. So I want you to get a job. It's definitely the first step in conquering the world. So have a QR code, have a title, have your name on the poster, have it be graphic, have it be pretty. So this poster is not mine, and it's really difficult to put up on a thing here and display. I'm just going to hold it up for you. I think this is really pretty. Look. So Julia did her internship at the Congregational Library. She worked with all these cool, rare books, and I think it's very artistic. I think she did a good job. Oops. If I was walking down an aisle and I saw all of these posters, I would stop and look at this one because it's graphic, it's visual, it's pretty. So when you want your posters to be graphic, visual, and pretty as well. Potentially think about putting the year on your poster. So I have no idea when I did this, but it was several years ago. Think about potentially putting the event onto your poster too, so that you remember. Sometimes people sometimes people hang on to their posters, sometimes not. I go to conferences and I tend to have my posters printed out at Kinko's, so you can always send it to, Kinko's has an online poster delivery system, so you can send it to any Kinko's in the country. You have it printed out and it's waiting for you when you get there. It's kind of expensive, but at least it's there, and then I generally throw them in the trash while I'm still at the conference, and then I don't have to carry it back and forth on the plane. There are a couple of other services. There's one that I don't remember the name of it, and I haven't used, but I've heard other people have really good experiences with it, and it's something like graduate school posters. And in many of the larger cities especially, they will print the poster and have it ready for you at a conference, and cheaper than Kinko's will. So look around, Google, see what you've got. All right, so let's think about how we're going to structure our poster. All right, we have the title. You have your name, contact information, and we have a QR code down in the corner. So now we have a lot of white space to work with. How do we fill that? Well, a variety of different ways. One of them might be that you just create kind of one large picture, which is pretty much what Julia has done here. It's not really broken up into different pieces, it's sort of got a chart look, but it's really one big picture. So you could just put one large graphic in here and sort of put words around it. But remember, it's the pictures that are going to be interesting, so don't overload. I might throw a marker in the trash because it's awful. If you don't do that, thinking about structuring it into two, so you have maybe a pre and post test, and you're just giving information about the results of it. So you'll tell people what the other parts of it and how you came to structure it, but you want them to see the data that you have. The Lewis and Clark one is a two-part, and it's also a I guess actually they are. Yay, look at that, how convenient. And that could be really a good way to structure your poster if you don't have too much to talk about and you just wanted to make it really clear what you're trying to structure. I like the 3-column method. So when you're thinking about structuring, sometimes this is the hardest part, is the visualizing. So you're thinking, this is the beginning of it. So this is my introduction. This is why we did it. This is our hypothesis. This is some sort of basic information or a quick couple pictures that will tell you what we're doing. And then this is what happened. This is everything we did. This is maybe disasters that happened, great stuff, it was awesome. Pictures of smiling children are always appropriate in this section. And then at the end, what does it all mean? So this is what we found. Now this doesn't have to be formal research. This could be an evaluation project that you do. This could be just the results of looking at something in your organization so that you see, we had to look at our water-soaked papers that were in the basement when the hurricane came through and they flooded. Assorted pictures of horrifying water-soaked things, because everybody had to deal with water-soaked books. It's terrible. I don't wish it on you. So horrifying pictures would definitely be appropriate, and then the results of smiley, happy employees who are wearing appropriate smocks so that they do not get horrible mold-infested diseases. Mold-infested diseases, not your friend. All right. And then your last kind of structure is you're thinking putting them together, the quadrant. So this is probably something that I would say if you have like a big project or you have something that had pieces to it. So again, think maybe your intro here, a method, so your methodology, this is what we did, issues, good stuff that happened, difficult stuff that happened, and then results. It's always nice if you can have results that are pictures of smiley people, people who are positively impacted by what you were doing. Putting in charts, graphs, definitely useful, definitely appropriate. Those are graphic and yet will convey information to your community of people you're trying to get to look at your work. Excuse me. Excuse me. Sorry. So excited about posters, I'm choking to death on them. So when you're thinking posters, though, and you're thinking about the idea of what kind of information to share, has anybody been to a poster presentation? Have you been to conferences where they had posters? What kind of stuff do you remember what you saw there?
The only one I remember was it was on Nigerian libraries, and part of the reason I remember was because they had a handout of the poster, so I was able to take it with me and look at it again.
Definitely. Having a handout makes it all better. Coincidentally, I happen to have a handout, a gold star for the good lead in there. All right, I'm gonna hand this back to you. So this is actually not one that I made. There's a site at the end from where this came from, but I thought it has good information. So it tells you what kind of stuff to put onto your poster, how to make it, and then what kind of handout to have. So your handout might be this poster, and maybe on the back side some more information. Because remember, you're going to be talking about it. I've got tons more up here. You're going to be talking about it and adding that kind of content to it besides what you have up on the poster. So it's good to have those to share. Has anybody else seen posters?
Actually, I have, so it was an undergrad medical school posters, so there were like at least 100 students in the room, and they were all lined up, and you just go from one to the other. There's a lot of information on all of them. But it was interesting, I learned a lot.
A lot of what you do at a poster presentation is how you sell it. So I feel almost ashamed of this, but I won $500 at a poster presentation once. So I was at Chapel Hill, and there was a doctoral student poster. It wasn't really a competition, it was sort of a presentation for everybody, for all the doctoral students all across campus. And the idea was that we all kind of got together and had the opportunity to talk about what it is that we're doing and see what people, across a big, huge research campus are doing. And I was so excited about my poster. I was so excited about the work that I was doing. I mean, I sold it. And when the judges came by to talk to me, I'm like, oh, well, this is just fantastic. Here, I have some candy. Take some candy with you. And my handing out candy goes way back. I was so excited about it. Like, I've got so many neat things. Let me tell you about this. This is why we're doing this. My research project, or my research partner and I, this is how we put it together. This is what we were doing. Oh, it's so great. And it's really innovative what we were doing. And I kept repeating that. It's really innovative. This is totally new. Nobody's looked at it this way. So one of the criteria for judging the conference was, is the poster representing an innovative research project? Well, they didn't know. But they knew that I had told them that it was innovative. So I just blew everybody away with my innovative work. There were medical students standing next to me. I assumed they were doing innovative, interesting things. There were dental students just down the row from me, and they were actually doing some really neat stuff. But they just stood next to their posters like, this is our poster. Right, poster. Did you want something else? Poster. And I was like, you gotta get in there, man, come on! So, about a week later, they tallied up all the votes for it, and I not only won the university-wide poster conference as a library student, which, our work is important, but is not considered as important usually as the hard science people. But I got to win $500, and so I got to go home for the holidays that year. It was great. Poster presentations are not always quite that dramatic, but it's really you. It's you selling it. It's you selling how exciting your work is. And if you don't think it's exciting, definitely no one else will. And you'll be the dental students who are standing down the aisle from me there, just sort of mumbling and looking down. So it's sort of like being at a job interview. We're standing next to our poster, all of us, as a hive mind. We're standing here together. And we've got to convince people that this is exciting, that this is interesting, that there's something of value to them in the poster and in the research. They're not necessarily going to be our best friends. They're not going to stand here and talk to us for 10 minutes. But we want people to stop and talk to us. So, you're a student. As a refresher, what is one of your primary goals? Get a job! Yes! This is one of the ways that you're going to be able to get a job. So there are tons of conferences for librarians, for archivists, for any kind of permutation of LIS all across New England. We are a very LIS, you probably already know, very LIS friendly kind of area. So keep your eyes out for conferences that might be coming up, because they will often have posters, and this is a way that you will get a chance to get get your name out there, get people to know you a little bit. And, you know, this is how people get jobs. So I'm sorry, I meant to mention earlier, bring your business cards. So when you bring food and water, bring your business cards too. Just saw the email that went out, that the deadline for ordering a business card from Simmons is coming up. Does anybody remember when that is?
It's November 1st.
November 1st?
It's Friday.
It's this Friday.
Or possibly sooner. Just do it.
I think it's
Now.
Friday.
Yeah, this week.
Okay, it's definitely in this
There's
ballpark.
a form, and it's just in front of student services, and you just hand it and fill it out.
Oh, yeah.
I think you
And they
guys-
fill it out for you?
Friday, October 30th, according to the email.
Awesome, thank you. So it's Friday coming up. Fill out the information down at the Student Services office. They will help you fill it out. So you get little index or get little business cards that have a Simmons logo on them, and they'll kind of style it. You know, you look like you belong to the Simmons community. Has anybody ever purchased business cards? Yeah, they're easy, right? Where did you get yours?
One of the ones online, I don't even remember.
Yeah, I think I did mine with like Vistaprint, it was
That
super
was
cheap
probably
and
it,
super
yeah.
easy.
Vistaprint!
Staples.
Staples!
Pen's going to be hosting a How to Design Your Own Business Card thing, so look out for flyers.
That's exciting.
They're the ones who do the really cool flyers,
Oh, yeah.
the
Well-
people you want to learn from.
In addition to ALASC, but you know, also. But yeah, I ordered business cards for, it was for a project that I needed to do, and so I needed just business cards specifically for that, and I can't remember now where I got them. But my business cards were sort of for librarians, and if you set like 8 of them up in a row, it looked like a shelf of books, because all around the edges were books, and on the back were books. It was very exciting. They were really cool, and when you're at a library conference and several people are holding your cards, you know, you like that. So have something that you can use to share the information that you want to get across, including who you are. I feel like I lost a thought someplace in there, but that's all right. Do you have other questions about posters?
I
Yes.
just wonder like what you use like for a program to design.
Fabulous. Exactly where we were going next. Another gold star for you. So this is a PowerPoint poster. I don't know if you're a PowerPoint slide. I don't know if you've seen this slide, but I like this particular. It looks like a little notebook, so when you flip it and you're at a conference, it looks really cool. So this is a PowerPoint slide. I think that was probably a PowerPoint slide also, and I believe she used a PDF. So you can use any sort of software you want. You don't want to get too intricate with the different kinds of software because it's going to make it hard to print at the end. So PowerPoint, has everybody used PowerPoint? Nice, solid option. You also can size it really easily. So I had, for my internship class, I've been having them printed here on campus. And that can be, it works out really nicely. They do a nice job. But it can be a little tricky to get, 30 people or 40 people's posters all printed. So you have to be able to size it, and with the PowerPoint, it's easy for me to go in and do that, or it's easy for them to make adjustments. If you send it to Kinko's also, they can adjust and make things work nicely. I don't work very much with Adobe, just because for no particular good reason. They make me furiously angry, and as soon as I paid them money, immediately, like a week after, is when they got hacked and all my information got stolen from them. So it's not their fault that I'm angry with them, and yet, here we are. But does anybody use Adobe? Posters turn out really nicely in it. What kind of tools do you use in there?
I would use InDesign to make a poster, because InDesign is designed for like text-heavy things like pamphlets, posters,
Right.
like book production. But you could also use Photoshop. I wouldn't recommend Illustrator for.
Illustrator is starting to go too far. Photoshop is probably okay, like Paint, the word Paint is probably going to be okay, but again, you don't want to make it something that's complicated and that it's going to be hard to print or hard to make adjustments to the size. Do you have the same thing with
I was
PDFs?
just gonna say,
Adobe.
or InDesign, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Does anybody make graphic stuff of any sort with other programs than what we've already discussed? Yes.
You can download a lot of Google Slide templates into PowerPoint so that it's sizable, but they have nicer backgrounds and templates and stuff, so I use those a lot.
Right, because you want your poster to look good. You want it to be eye-catching. You want it to kind of stand out from the crowd. So the specific tools you use are, it's not terribly important what you use, other than it needs to be something standard. It needs to be something that a lot of people are going to have access to. If you don't print your poster in advance and bring it with you, and you send it someplace to be printed, I've never had a problem. My only problem came, I presented at a conference one year. It was ALA was meeting for their annual conference in DC. It was like 5,000 degrees outside, and the poster committee had sent everybody an email that said, oh, your posters have to be 4 feet by 8 feet. 4 feet by 8 feet is huge. So I was new at this, and I had my poster printed 4 feet by 8 feet, and I showed up at Kinko's, and they were like, great, that'll be $200. And I was like, what? My plane ticket didn't cost $200. So that was sort of an unhappy surprise there. And I did learn, get a quote in advance. Posters don't ever have to be that big. I was literally the only person with a poster that was the 4 feet by 8 feet that they had told us to print in. So this is 2 feet by 3 feet. Yeah, I think all of these are 2 feet by 3 feet. This is pretty much the standard size that a poster is going to be printed out. When you're thinking about getting them printed, like I said, I like to go to Kinko's just because they're everywhere. They know what they're doing. I've always had really good luck sending things in advance, but maybe bring a flash drive so that if you get there and a disaster has occurred, you can just flip out your flash drive and they can keep it, email it to yourself. But it's awkward to say, okay, can I go to your computer there, Kinko's people, and sign into my Gmail account and pull it up on my email? That's going to be awkward. So it's easier just to have everything on a flash drive, maybe a couple of flash drives. Yeah, bring handouts too, or have Kinko's print them as well. Paper is often easier to carry through an airport than a poster, but sometimes people get really excited about their posters and they don't want to be parted from them, so they do carry them on the plane. I'll leave that one to you. Other thoughts and questions about posters? Have you seen any kind of conferences coming up where they're going to have posters?
There are literally like 8 million.
I'm going literally 8 million, yes.
Look in the call for submissions section on the job line. Like, a lot of them are just calls for papers, but a lot of them are calls for papers, workshop proposals, posters, you name it. There are some cool ones.
If you haven't explored the fun world of conferences and LIS yet, there are so many different things to think about here, so many different topics. So many of you know Lisa Hussey and I are super into the pop culture stuff, and we have been to the Pop Culture Association National Conference that has a subset for librarians and archivists. I went to a conference about food in Boston as a librarian. Let's see, I've been to a bunch of different places, and all of them will take posters. All of them are interested. So as a student, as somebody who's new in the profession, you don't necessarily have 20 years of experience that you draw upon, and that's fine. That's not a problem. Posters are a little more casual. So it's not the kind of time commitment, it's not the kind of research and advanced commitment that writing a paper and presenting that would be. It's not even the kind of commitment that giving an actual presentation at the conference. That's more scholarly or more project-based. This is a different way and a little bit more casual way to present what it is that you're doing. So everybody always likes to see, this is what went really well in my library, or this is how fabulous my archive was. Those are always happy posters to have. I saw a poster that was, they were raising money. I was at an IFLA conference, the International Federation of Library Association. I'm sure I'm not quite getting that right, but it's the ballpark. It's the International Librarians. So I was in Puerto Rico at their conference, and I was giving a conference presentation. I didn't have a poster, but I went to look at all the posters. And this guy was really excited. He had, I think he had little bike things that he was handing out. I like bikes. So I immediately stopped and I start looking at his poster, and it's covered with pictures of people on their bikes and, you know, happily waving at the camera. He was raising money by biking from, I'm sure I've got these names, the places wrong, but like Copenhagen, through Berlin, and then back up into somewhere else. But it was neat, but it was librarians. So the idea was to move through these different countries on bikes in a big group and to talk about how great libraries are. So I mean, we're on board, right? Libraries, fabulous, we love them. But the average person doesn't necessarily know how great we are. So his poster was actually a really graphic way of talking about this is what we did last year, but now we need money from you. And so while I'm standing there, I'm like, dude, I would really like to give you money. Can I hand you cash now? No, was the answer, because he was all honest and upstanding. So we, but he had a little fundraising page then that you could go to. So I took his fundraising page and went on from there. I mean, he could have just taken the 20 from me and I would have been perfectly happy, but yeah, this is better. So posters can be used for a variety of different things. They're a little bit more casual, but they're still a fun way to connect with people, and they really do. They can help you build your professional network because they show that you're doing stuff. Sorry. So I'm going to wrap up with just one quick specific way that you can use posters. If you're thinking about your capstone, so I've been talking with a lot of people lately about their capstone experiences. So the internship is out there. Clearly it's glorious, and you have really good, interesting experiences. The other option in a capstone is the research project. So just write a paper. I don't see that as having a lot of value. I mean, unless you really enjoy such things, in which case, enjoy. But instead, the research project could be something that you really get involved in the profession. So find a topic that you really like. I'm extremely into therapy dogs right now. So I'm trying to push up several of my advisees into doing research project on therapy dogs in different kinds of settings. So let's say we're going to do a project and we are going to look at all of the academic libraries in New England and see what kind of, do they have a therapy dog and what are they using their therapy dogs for? So you go to, well, the Office of Sponsored Programs here at Simmons. You get a little ethics training, it's good. Then you create a survey and you get it approved. Send it out to all of these people. Now you're making connections with people who are potentially interested in what you're interested in. They're academic librarians. They like therapy dogs. It's great. Now they know your name. They know you're interesting. They know you're doing things that are beyond just going to class. Write the paper. Get that finished. Now send it out to get it published. Getting published is always going to be good. If you're in an academic environment, you may be required to be published to continue to have your job, to get tenure. But even if you're not, it always looks good. But now you have a neat research project that you have done that's interesting, unique, and specific to you. So now you have a poster that you can take to, like NELA, the New England Library Association Conference. You could take it to, actually, ALA Midwinter. I did check to see, it's too late, sorry, we can't submit posters. Too bad. But you can take it to ALA annually. You can take it to a variety of different other library organizations that are going to have conferences around the area. Let's say you want to move to Seattle, Washington when you graduate. That would be super and wonderful. But you want to apply to a conference that's in Seattle, Washington. Now you apply and you take your poster with you. Now you're making connections in Seattle. You've already made connections here. You're really building your professional network, and your poster can be an important part of that. So posters are fun. Posters are neat. Posters are graphic, exciting. But they can add a lot of value to your professional life and to the way that you share information. Any questions about posters, thoughts about posters? All right, so I'm Mary. My office is right over there. Stop by, and I will give you chocolate and talk to you about posters. So when you're ready to start making posters for conferences, I will be thrilled to hear it. Thank you so much for coming today. Please